Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to the show On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. Now, the ruling National Resistance Movement, NRM, has declared victory of its candidate as proof that the party remains firmly rooted among the electorate and continues to command public confidence. But the opposition National Unity Platform sees the outcome differently. The party insists that the result cannot be viewed in isolation, pointing to concerns raised during the campaign and voting process, while also facing difficult questions about how it lost a seat it previously held. Tonight on The Spot, we dissect one of Uganda's most closely watched political contests, the Kalangala District Woman Member of Parliament by-election, a race that has generated intense debate for beyond the shores of the Sese Islands. Sitting tonight with me is retired Major Paula Wich, Director, Foreign Affairs at the NRM Secretariat, the Honorable Cohen Champene, Member of Parliament for Igara West, and Honorable Ivan Cheyune, MP, Nakasongola County. Honorable Champene, Honorable Cheyune, and Major Paula Wich. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A warm welcome to all of you, and I'm going to begin with you in the middle because the center of the National Unity Platform in the island district of of Kalangala, this time around could not hold. A seat you held, few months after that disaster, the death of an MP, you've lost it. What happened?
Well, good evening, viewer. We didn't lose the election in Kalangala. If by all virtue of facts and evidence, yesterday it wasn't an election. And I wish that one time God himself can be the chairperson of the Electoral Commission in Uganda, that we could have a free and fair election. The most disappointing is Mr. Byabakama himself. Before even we went into the tallying day, we raised concerns that we comfortably believed that maybe something different would happen. We raised, first of all, a concern where 17 ballot boxes had different serial numbers from when they were dispatching to when we were verifying prior to voting. Secondly, we were complaining about security operatives that come and overtake the process of elections. We always ask that why are security operatives covering their faces, driving cars which have number plates that are not identifiable. And thirdly, we were persuaded that we are going to use the BVVK machines, that every voter would come, put a thumbprint, the machine verifies him, gets a ballot, goes and votes. That after in the evening, each ballot will be verified. During the press conference, the EC chairperson, the Justice Byamukama, comfortably told us, we shall not see security operatives in Kalangala. Verification will be done by the BVVK machine. Going into the tally day, I myself was supervising 2 parishes, 3 vehicles with posters of the CDF stormed the polling station, started beating everyone. Someone would come with pre-ticked ballots, puts them inside the box, and tells people around there that what can you do? Faces covered and you cannot identify the person, you cannot identify the car.
Are you actually telling Uganda tonight that the situation was so ugly that there was such impunity in Kalangala yesterday?
I am actually...
that they would do whatever they could in broad daylight and ask you, do what you can because you have nothing to do.
Mr. Kamara, I am asking myself that why does government, in particular the EC, waste people's money, taxpayers' money, people's emotions, people's time, to organize such an election where actually they know the outcome. I am of the view that government just wake up one day in the same manner that President Museveni appoints ministers, declares a list of RDCs. NRM should come out and declare members of parliament that they want in particular areas. That is wasting people's time.
This same electoral commission, Honorable Cheyune, that you're hounding, was able to oversee the elections in Nakasongola County.
Can I tell you?
And were able to declare you winner. The same justice.
Do you know how many people are in prison? Mr. Kamara,
declared you winner.
Mr. Kamara, go and ask all members of parliament who are declared on opposition, and they give you the ordeal of what they went through. Many people have permanent injuries on their bodies. Even yesterday in Kalangala, there are people who are still at police stations. You ask yourself that, why would you organize an election where you're going to leave young people, 20 years, 19 years, in prison? Many are damaged, permanent injuries on their bodies. Many, since 2021, are in prison. It's not about declaring Cheyune, but what has he gone through? What are his supporters going through? Go and ask what happened in Kalangala. It's not about that someone has been declared.
Okay, Honorable Champene, first of all, I'm meeting you again after you have won the election. Last time we met, you were a candidate, and now you're a member of parliament. Perhaps I also made my contribution. But, but you know, he's your colleague. He's a honorable member. That's a title. He cannot be telling a lie. Why are you presiding over an election that is so ugly with a lot of impunity? I don't think Cheyune is telling a lie.
You know, Kamara, let us first agree and understand. In the political contest, especially that happened yesterday, there has to be a winner and a loser. And in every election where there is a winner, the loser will always make complaints.
No, that the Cheyune is concerned.
Yes, yes.
Why is it that you have declared the loser?
You see, an election is a process. It's a process. First of all, there is a declaration, someone died. 60 days you have to conduct elections. The party brings in their names. All that is done. There is no complaint that has been filed. Because when you look at the Elections Act, I want Cheyune to tell us, where have they made a complaint at the police station? Where is the OB number? Because an election you can verify. That's why it is verifiable. That you need to see if you are claiming or making these allegations. Because it's one of the grounds of even nullifying an election. Violence, beating up people, ballot stuffing. Now, my colleague
By the way, before you go further,
yes,
the NRM has proved to be incapable in organizing violent-free kind of elections. In your own primaries, people died. NRM primaries. It is known that every time there's an election, a contestation for power in a democratic process in Uganda, where NRM is the majority, violence always follows. Must it be like that?
Thank you very much for asking me that question. In choosing the method to use in party primaries, each party uses their own method. NRM has chosen what we call the suffrage, or where everyone votes for their own candidate. What are the other parties chosen?
What we know in Zimbabwe, NRM's method, it was death and destruction. People lost somebody. In Isinjiro, vehicles were burnt and houses were burnt down.
You see, we were all candidates in an election. Elections have emotions. And now, if there are emotions in an election, you don't put a blame on the political party. We are the players. And that's why even my colleague from National Unity Platform would tell you that their processes of handpicking had its own issues. The NRM chose where members of the Ugandans choose by lining up and choosing their own. We as human beings, we can go into an election with the perception that so and so will win, so and so will lose. But we have seen an election where, for example, someone says this one ought to have won, but people have chosen not. have said no, and the government and NRM has accepted. That's why there is a process. We have a tribunal. If they were unsatisfied with the election results, then they went to the tribunal.
Let me go
now, as you end up, Kamara, where is the tribunal for the National Unity Platform? Where parties were dissatisfied, where did they go? So the issue about Kalangala, the issue about elections, yes, we might agree, and this one I want to agree to a certain extent. There is somehow, somewhere, which some of the things that we need to do, but the Kalangala by elections is not as bad as what my colleague says.
Let me go to Major Paula Awich, and I must declare, Paula is my friend, but there's no friendship in this. Paula, are you incapable as NRM of overseeing an election, winning without leaving a trail of blame, of cries, of death and destruction, of bribery and intimidation? Must it be following you all the time you have a win?
We are capable of winning without chaos, and we have demonstrated that. I think we are the only party which had many unopposed candidates. With the woman MP for Kirehora was unopposed. Do I need to give you a long list?
I also know even Vokede and whatever you can.
So that is a clear sign for you that we are capable of winning without any crisis. We have had unopposed candidates without contestation of whatever kind.
But if I pick you, for example, the unopposed candidate for the woman MP for Vokede came with a lot of contestation. In fact, even your own colleagues in NRM have been questioning and doubting that, because that was a position that was taken and opposed by the former Speaker of Parliament.
Okay, I'm still answering
and
you.
What has happened?
I'm still answering.
So you cannot be telling us that running unopposed is something so big. After all, we saw it from the former Speaker.
Kamara, you ask me, let me answer you. You don't ask me and answer it yourself. Now, I am still answering you that we are capable of winning without complaints. But also at the same time, know that inherently it's difficult. And that is why institutionally, complaint mechanism is put. Because even the lawmakers and whoever is associated to campaign know that there is bound to be a complaint. So it is very ideal to win without a complaint. If that ideal was a reality, there wouldn't be an institutional framework for complaint mechanism. But all the same, even with complaint mechanism, you have seen that there are constituencies where, for example, for you to determine that there's no complaint, there are no court cases. Otherwise, whoever would complain under Marua drinking, that wouldn't amount as a complaint. Anybody would complain. So a legitimate legal way of knowing that in a Bujumbura, in a rural north, in a rural south, in Katakwi, that election was won by NRM peacefully, is where you don't have election petition. So there are many of those constituencies that we have won. But also inherently there are those. Now in the case of Kalangala, my friend is complaining about what he says is an unlawful act. I like to say that even if those other people came with masks and did all this, you had all the means to gather evidence, whether by photographing, whatever it is, or even by a sworn affidavit. Remember, my friend, Honorable, an affidavit is a sworn statement of truth. What you are telling court on oath, if you tell court on oath that somebody came and did this and this, you have stated it and you leave it to court. So no worry, lose no sleep if that is what you're saying, because institutionally and in the governance system that we believe, there's that rule.
But for heaven's sake, the election was just yesterday.
Yes.
And you're asking him about taking the court route. Of course, if they are.
No, I'm saying with time, with time. So you shouldn't worry. That is it. But we as a party, we believed in what we did. First of all, our organizational display. We are so organized as a secretariat and with the team on the ground. Remember, we have the structures. We are the secretariat people deployed. I will remain at the headquarters with planning and logistical base. The likes like Rosemary Seninde and Honorable Namayanje, they were in the theater. They did their good job with thorough and maximum organization. We also had, there is a lot of investment in Kalangala, which we couldn't lose this election. The government, which had come from our past manifesto, like the oil, palm oil, like everybody has incomes there. So for anybody now to go and imagine that we could lose that election is a dream. In previous manifesto, there is a lot of government investment in Kalangala. Nearly everybody is earning an income. The challenges that we had.
What did you do so different? You lost it in January and lost it very badly, and then you take it in June. What did you do in the last 5 months to say now the people of Kalangala have actually seen the dividends of government, and now they can...
What happened in the other one? What happened in the other one is that
the defeat in January was decisive. So what is it that you did in 5 months for the people to say...
What we didn't do right in the last general election was that we're dealing with a national scale, and therefore we didn't focus and organize in Kalangala as it is. Remember, Kalangala has its own terrain. It has, I think, over 100 islands. You have to move by boats to access LC1 from another LC1. So, being a national election the other time, we were overwhelmed. We also had evidence the other time that many voters were ferried, contrary to his complaint. We have the ferried from outside the island, but this time we are keen enough to oversee and make sure such errors that it did not occur.
I've heard your critics say that this time around, because you're just looking at only one by-election, you had the resources, the personnel, and what they have called the rigging machinery to be deployed in that island.
No, the keenness, it is true, the keenness, because at a national election, had to reach areas where Kalangala is one of them, with over 100 islands. The terrain is so unique, okay? You have to cross by boats and this. So in such a huge election, concentration on hard to reach constituency like Kalangala becomes difficult. But this time we had all the time to plan and did it. So we did this very, very well, and we were organized, both from previous government investment, including, of course, PDM. But the bigger income investment is so huge in Kalangala that if the other national election were not spread on the ground, we would still have won.
What I don't understand is for you to say the bigger investment is so obvious in Kalangala, and as if there was an epiphany that came on the people to say, please, Kalangala people, see, and yet they were unable to see that in January.
No, what I'm telling you, that the January mismanagement was on the larger scale that we couldn't be organized. Let me tell you, Kamara, when we called the Kalangala people to meet us at the headquarters during our planning in Plot 10, they themselves told us, colleagues, this election is us to lose. Because evidently, where people don't vote because of complaints about income generating, about poverty, about that, it is not here with us. These are people on the ground talking.
Okay.
And they said, we have all this.
Let me come back to Unpacking.
And they were even regretting why we didn't concentrate to win in January. Kalangala is well sorted.
Major Paula there is saying NRM, the NRM juggernaut had a well-oiled machine this time around, and they deployed it in Kalangala with their resources and personnel and the experience and techniques, and because of that they came out victorious.
Yeah, when I was invited to this show, I was intending to come with a Bible, purposely to give each one of these liars a Bible. That,
so you're sandwiched between two liars?
Yeah, I am seated between two liars who have not been to Kalangala in the last 5 months.
It reminds me of the biblical story.
Yes, Jesus was in between two thieves.
There were two thieves in the middle.
Yes.
start with himself by swearing.
Yes, because me, I'm here.
Look at the imagery of Jesus Christ in the middle.
Between two thieves.
And who is going to repent? Is it?
Because I am telling you, I wish I'd come with the Bible. I would start with my
Major Paul.
Major Paul. Since when did you last visit Kalangala, for example? When did you last visit Kalangala?
No, I have not been there yet. A long way. I went to Kalangala when I had an RDC friend of mine, and we toured the whole district, but not as recent.
Okay.
Not as recent.
So you have been here comforting Ugandans that Kalangala, there is no poverty, that palm oil is doing well, that there is.
But doesn't mean he sits as the secretariat. Doesn't mean they don't have their
Kamara, I said we called them here in our planning. I have said we called people from Kalangala, all the stakeholders, and we listened to them, because we could not purport to know what is on the ground.
He was in Kalangala yesterday.
Yes. I am sympathizing with the people of Kalangala. How I wish that over 10 billion that was spent in the last 10 days, including yesterday, if that money was given to the local government of Kalangala, and the real...
How did you come to the figure of 10 billion?
My friend, yesterday, Kalangala, actually up to now, I think the dust is just cooling over the volume of vehicles that were leaving Kalangala in the morning. Over 800 huge government vehicles were at that island. Around 7 a.m., they were all flocking towards the ferry.
So wait a minute. So the 10 billion could have come back to Kampala?
All the money came back. The voters, the real citizens in Kalangala didn't benefit. First of all, they were given a leader who wasn't their choice. Secondly, I visited over like 30 areas on the island. People are not there. Last year they were fishing mukene. They were fishing. Actually, it is only fishing that is a small activity that can bring money in their pockets. There is no fishing at the island. The huge population relocated to Tanzania and Kenya. That's what people are saying.
So why is it that there's no fishing in the middle of an island in Lake Victoria?
UPDF is harassing people. You know it. Marine gets you there fishing. The hostility that you can face when you are there.
Is it the army that is fishing now?
The army took over fishing. The army, there is a big network there. If you don't pay them, you cannot fish.
So
there is evidence.
The UPDF are the fishermen?
They are controlling the lake. If you went there and saw the structures of the citizens living at the island, just mabati structures, temporal structures, not permanent structures, the poverty that is at Kalangala Island, you even imagine if government has been ruling for 40 years. A president who would have traveled to Kalangala to see exactly what the people are going through, went through the whole capital. He did travel through road to see the real roads that are in Kalangala. He didn't even have a chance to check the health centers there. He didn't even have a chance to speak to those people who were fishing, the fishing community that is now redundant. He never listened. He came through the air, met a few people who are in yellow t-shirts, paraded. These schemers who take money were almost not allowing anyone from Kalangala to talk. It is the people who have come from the NRM secretariat speaking on their behalf. They don't stay there. They don't allow the people there to give their voice to government. And yesterday, the only time that Kalangala saw government presence is when the vehicles were taking ballot materials. Thereafter, that very evening, the government vehicles that were filling the ballot boxes started coming back to Kampala. All the money was brought back to Kampala. Kalangala is poor. I am even so disheartened that someone is saying that they voted for NRM candidate because people are there doing so many economic activities.
Okay,
like what?
Honorable Champene, do you really think that when Cheyune speaks the way he is, I mean, that he's just a bad loser?
I mean,
is it just a bad loser?
You know, Kamara, some of these things, we are used to them. some of the rhetoric stories, go to Kalangala. How did he reach Kalangala? Did he fly by ferry? So there is transport. In his own admission, one he says, and I will use his analogy, oh, there are no people in Kalangala. Oh, people didn't vote. Does that make, where did the other people come from, even who voted for their candidate? So, I mean, when you want to lie, at least lie with
an intelligent liar.
An intelligent liar. An intelligent lie that is so fattening that everyone can believe. But we cannot, the government has done a lot. We have PDM, Parish Development Model. It is at the village level. That's number one. Secondly, we have palm oil. It is there. Thirdly, when you say that people are
but
being
let me
just...
ask, you're talking about palm oils. I've seen huge plantations.
Yes, yes.
The plantations of Kalangala, that cannot be for the peasants.
I mean, you know... you see, it's like, you know...
Huge
Kamara,
plantations of palm oil.
You know, Kamara...
You cannot say that's a...
You know, it's like going to my economy. You see, it's like going to my place which has a lot of tea. And when you see tea, then you say it's not for the peasant. You see, that is the economic activity of that area. And the economic activity of Kalangala is fishing, palm oil, harvesting and plantation, and to some extent there is another farming.
So if they are big plantation owners with huge chunks of land in Kalangala, where they have planted palm oil, how does that money translate?
You see,
the individual families,
who is giving labor?
You have the big, you have the bourgeoisie, the champagnes owning land.
No. Who is giving labor? That's number one. People can still own because we have large scale and small scale. And for fishing, he's saying that people are being chased from, they are fishing mukene and they are being chased by the police or that. My dear friend, there is a procedure. The members of parliament of Kalangala, no one has ever raised those issues you are raising. You are a member of parliament in Nakasongora. But now you went to Kalangala and only in a few you had already sampled the problems of Kalangala. It can't be that. And you see, that is the propaganda that is always done by the opposition. So for me, what the government has done, we might say, oh, they can say there is a rigging, the rigging of elections. They were this and that. You see, when you lose an election, there is always three things you can do. Is to accept, I have lost. To refuse and say, I have not lost. And the third one is to say, since I have lost, I will go to court with evidence. I have asked him to tell us the obina, because there are institutions, there is police. It is one of the elections that we have had that we don't have videos trending on TikTok.
You've made your point.
Yes.
You know, in the last election, you had the principal of the National Unity Platform, presidential candidate then, the Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, also going to Kalangala.
Yeah.
Could we say, this time around, Honorable Chagulanyi, that the absence of Honorable Robert Chagulanyi could have cost you that election in Kalangala?
No, I disagree with that. We all understand the ordeal of the principal of our party. He's not in the country. That does not mean that his absence determines the choice of the people of Kalangala.
He obviously adds value in a campaign.
I accept he adds value, but his absence would not have determined the result of yesterday's election. What if he was present? Would he have stopped the numberless cars that were brutalizing people at polling stations? He's asking for evidence. Are you on internet? You have not seen those videos trending? The choice of a candidate also determines an election. No. I was answering. This is my space.
Okay.
Assuming the Honorable Chagulanyi was in Kalangala, would he have influenced the use of BBVK at polling time and then reject them when we are rescanning for tallying in the evening? These are genuine questions that we are asking. Why don't we follow the rules and procedures of an election if it is stated that we are going to use verification machines when we are giving out ballot votes? In the evening, we are going to rescan them for counting. And that was giving us the hope and confidence that the stuffed ballots will not qualify in the evening. That was stated by the chairperson of the EC. All what the chairperson of the EC promised us in the morning when we were verifying the materials, come yesterday after voting, after making all the complaints in the field that so and so, this polling station, this particular polling station, this has happened, he did nothing. So what would have our principal done for whatever happened yesterday? Secondly, someone here just said that there are courts of law, we can lodge complaints, we can do what? Just recently, a lawyer, former member of parliament, former mayor of Kampala, just was trying to serve summons. As we speak now, is incapacitated. Do we live in Uganda? Don't we know what happened to a lawyer who was trying just to serve summons to someone? He was abducted, bundled, beaten, tortured. I am told by now that he's in Mulago. Do we live in the same country? Don't we know what happens? A former candidate who participated in the 2021 general elections, having faced all the brutality, is now outside the country. Why? You mean we have not lodged complaints of brutality, violence? You were telling us here that in our party, where they were handpicking leaders for flags, vis-a-vis the NRM where lives were lost, did you have a tribunal that investigated loss of lives of people in the NRM primaries? Are you legitimizing violence? Then what happens if you didn't ask the violence that happened in your primaries and we come out and lodge the same complaints and you say we go and do what? And take complaints to courts of law. Don't you see what happens?
You know, Honorable Major Paula, retired Major Polawich, every time we have had a misfortune of an incumbent MP to die in office and there's a by-election, what is the norm in most cases is they pick either a relative, a son or a daughter, a husband or a wife to step in. And in most cases, almost all of them, there's that sympathetic vote that comes and then a relative of the deceased wins. But this time around, it seems it has not worked.
Yeah, that practice kind of emerged along the way. I don't know how and why. It nearly emerged in the scenario of Kikube, where our senior comrade, General Cherigonza, lost a son in a motor accident. The brother of the late attempted to come in, but using our systems in the party, we didn't qualify him. And that is why a flag bearer in Chikube, who finally won, was not the son of Cherigonza. Now, in their system, they did it. In fact, what used to happen is that it was them who would accuse NRM of doing it. But time and again, they have done it even more. For example, in this case, they picked the sister of the late. And if it was on our side, they would have made a huge point out of it. But we watched and said, it is your internal system. You bring any candidate that we can democratically compete with. So unfortunately, this time, the sympathy didn't work because we had genuine issues we were addressing. Genuine issues, and it made people not be drawn to the sympathy. Even for us as a party, as NRM, we deeply sympathize with them, and we were really grieved. We don't want under any circumstances, especially the circumstance under that the former MP died, we don't want to lose any life, regardless whether you are NUP, DP or UPC. If anything, we even win election with a promise that we are going to guarantee lives and property, protection of lives and property. So we are sorry, but we said we are sorry about the loss, but however, this is a new electoral process. So the voters didn't see. But Kamara, permit me to comment about a few issues he raised. He talked of liars, that is sandwiched between two liars. You see, it's such a unfortunate statement. You know, a lie is an intentional falsehood. So it is wrong for Honorable to assume that we are intentionally putting falsehood. Why would I? What do I gain from it? I'm not a liar. If I say government has invested in this, and we have data, we have figures, we have amount of money put in, okay? Now, if you also ask that, what is the effect on an ordinary citizen there? This palm oil, for example, and another economy in Kalangala, if you may, is tourism. So it is not enough to say in the tourism so and so has put hotel and the money is for the hotel owner. No, there are people who work there. People who work in those hotels, they pay school fees from what they earn there. They buy food from what they earn there. They buy clothes from the hotel they work. It is the same thing in the palm oil. I know of a friend who owned that, but he just put a manager to manage there. And with the workers and those people who work in those palm oil, they get food from there, they pay school fees from there. So we need to be clear to say the investment there is not a one-person investment. Even a hotel, if that was the case, we'd say it's whoever owns a hotel, whether Karim or Sudir, it's Sudir's hotel. No, it has people who work, who derive their income from there. So it is not correct to say we are sandwiched between two liars. Lies are intentional telling of falsehood. There's no reason for me to intentionally tell falsehood. The figures are there to prove how much money is put in tourism, how much money is put in a palm oil and affects the people. Finally, it mentions the complaint mechanism in NRM. It alludes to loss of life. Now, when it is a matter of loss of life, that becomes a criminal matter and it goes through a criminal system. But our complaint mechanism, the tribunal, was very efficient. And President Museveni, who is our chairman, even said, should you find that the party tribunal did not satisfy you and there was criminal element, for example, your opponent got 6 votes and they added him a 0, President Museveni said that is a crime. Please bring me evidence and criminalize them.
I have evidence of that very statement.
He said bring them and criminalize them. So it's not correct to say our complaint mechanism, our in NRM is not working. It's working. We had a tribunal which was set, and it is so each and every complaint. Even on top of the resolution, the president said, should you not be satisfied with the tribunal, and a crime was made, and yet tribunal ruled otherwise, yet you know in your constituency, in the primary, your opponent got 6 votes and they had it 0. Museveni said that's a crime, bring it to me.
Thank you very much.
So, we have our systems.
Let's come to Honorable Chayune.
Yes, some information here. I, as the Honorable Chayune, I supervised Kyagalanyi landing site. NRM candidate Nabaiga Aida got 78 votes, and in words it is indicated 78 votes only
at the polling station.
At the polling station
where you were.
Yes, but in figure it is 125. You can see by yourself.
Maybe Kamara, you know what we are being shown, and you know AI. You know we are being introduced AI. There is the introduction of that. You see some of these. You see some of these things, they need to be verified. And you see that's what I was telling here, my colleague. There is a mechanism for finding such.
First give to Kamara.
Yes, for having such, because you see in an election, you know, in an election. Yes, I mean point of information. Mr. Kamara.
Yes.
You
know, this is this is the parliamentary by-election declaration of results form.
Scan the QR code.
No, who signed it?
Okay, scan the QR code. Scan it.
We are being treated AI. We have seen things.
Challenge it. Challenge it.
But you see, you can't challenge AI. Because
you can.
You see, that's why there is
the signatures of NRM agents are there.
They are not there.
Please read on it.
No, the signatures are there for sure. But
they are not there.
The thing is, This is you gathering evidence.
Yes.
But here's something to show you.
Yes, 125 votes in words and 78.
See, Kamara, in the year 2001, and why the President and the Election Commission introduced the BVR kits, they later realized that in some of the polling stations, especially where my colleagues were, there was a lot of ballot stuffing, and that's why there is a code that is in on this. We can't scan and verify, and that's why for me, if you ask me, I am a lawyer by profession. If you ask me, these are only, they can only be verified once there is an election petition in court. Each party, everyone has his side of the story. Then you tell the story, we cross-examine you, we ask you questions regarding this form. Because this form, when you look at it, even if I am going through it, I ask my colleague who signed it. As the person who signed, for example, saw and said, this is not the actual thing that happened. Because you see, social media is about perception. When you create a perception that there was rigging, there was voter machinery, there was beating of the people, these are some of the things. We, us who are watching, we might think in Kalangala, it was a whole terror. I mean, you know, it is as if we're watching a movie, you know, but okay. That is not the actual truth.
What was your mechanism of choosing a candidate to run for the by-election? I know you went for the relative of the deceased, but you know, sometimes elections are won not necessarily because you have a strong party, but probably you have a strong candidate.
Well,
how about because the late member of parliament for Kalangala could have had personal individual skills that perhaps were lacking in the candidate you presented this time around.
You're asking the mechanism we used. Many candidates showed interest and they applied to the party. They were verified, they went through an intense interview, and the secretariat went to Kalangala. The people of Kalangala, out of the 8 candidates that showed interest, expressed interest, the people of Kalangala pointed on candidate Irene Nampala.
How did they point?
Of course, when you go there to the ground, you ask that we have candidate A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Amongst these candidates, who do you think is a better choice? And the voices came from those people. We are not contesting, we are contesting actually the manner in which the election was handled. If it was a free and fair election, we will not be here complaining. A free and fair election is determined by what? The BVVK machine will tell us. The manner of armed forces storming polling station. It's what we are highlighting. And it is what the Electoral Commission has failed to do. It has failed to oversee a free and fair election.
Okay.
That's why we shall always come out and contest the results.
I think you make a legitimate complaint, and I'd want retired Major Paula Awich to respond to this. Men and women in uniform, whose job it is very different, that is well elaborated in the Constitution. What are they doing in the politics, in campaigns?
The position of the law is very clear, and there was in one of the election petition, the Supreme Court ruled about the position of the army. They are not supposed to be there, and as a ruling party, we do follow it. The role of the army, however, like in the past general election, has been this. The law says police is the lead agency in electoral matters, but the law allows police to call the army, and the police is always thin on the ground, so they always call manpower for.
Even in a by-election, the police can be thin on the ground?
Can I finish this? I want to illustrate the general and bring to the specific. So in that case, the law allows the police to call the army. Remember, police is the lead agency. So when the army comes in, they come to supplement the police, particularly where there would be anticipated crowd control. Even in the last election, Kamara, you see that line of where there is the tie ropes. The army doesn't even go inside there, they stay outside. I've repeatedly said that if we were to use the army in electoral matters, the chief whip, for example, Honorable Obua, the former chief whip, couldn't have lost because he was a party candidate. But we had the army. But the army did go to vote there. It was won by UPC. Where the army was, they don't even enter inside where the rope is tied. So in the case of Kalangala, as being alleged, it is a specific matter. I need to get better facts. For example, I don't know if it is true, is alleging that people come with the woods or with the covered faces and do that. That is his allegation. So it is a matter of specificity. But as a matter of principle, and as a matter of practice, and as a matter of law, the army does not. Even that rope which is tied, they don't even enter inside. And they stand just on call for the sake of intervening to help the police. So your question is, what do the people in uniform have to do? I have clearly stated, including from the past elections up to now. So his specific complaint in this past incident needs verification. I'm hearing from him. And I therefore can't say, because Honorable has said there were the soldiers who did this and this, then I start complaining and blaming the army. I need to be specific. And we're going to get it, because for us as a party, it also concerns us. For example, on the issue that is raising, we had this in the morning at the Secretariat. There was there was an allegation that at a polling station called Elujabwa, that the total number of registered voters were 131. But the NRM candidate is reported to have got 522. We put up people on the ground to task, is this true? They said it is not. They said it is not. Because we are concerned. When we got this, we said, come on, this makes us look shabby. Those in the theater, the Honorable Seninde, we ask them, you are in the theater, tell us, this makes us look shabby. Is it true that there was 131 voters in a station and you got 522? They said never. They said we can produce you that polling station. Okay. So the military role is clear, both in law and in practice.
It has been documented by even people who are not contesting against you. These are election observers in the general election. That sometimes the army gets involved, the RDCs get involved, and on behalf of a partisan political, they get into partisan politics, which is not supposed to be the case. These issues have been documented by neutral observers that come into our country. You cannot just ignore them.
Thank you, Kamara. In the year 2001, Dr. Kiza Besigye petitioned the court made a ruling, the Supreme Court. In the year 2006, the most precedented judgment in terms of election petitions, the same court in the year 2006, and especially the judgment of Kanyihamba, may his soul rest in peace. In the Amama Mbaba's case, the same issue about police and the army was raised. And the court has been very categorical that the role of police and the army is to keep law, is to keep order, peace, and to make sure that the law is followed in terms of the elections. They don't enter into what we call the polling station. Now, when you look at the law under the Elections Act and the regulations therein, also the police is precluded from entering that box, the dice box.
I don't think they have a big issue with the police. They have a problem with the military.
It's a fine.
We observed the Nakawa by-election here. Nakawa, it looked like a garrison. It was like a garrison town.
You see,
our colleagues
you see, for me,
we're beaten and brutalized.
The good thing that we are talking about is an election, and which I said it's a process. When you talk about the army entering and all that, you know, the army comes in, and you see, we have seen allegations, we have seen the conclusions of what we call the perceived narrations and salutations for purposes of creating a narrative. The army is precluded from entering, and that is the law. What the army does is to make sure they protect property and lives. Now, in the incident, they have my colleague here. If the army had wanted, where he comes from, there is an army barracks. He won from there. He won in Nakasongora. It's a whole army. The army would have voted and beaten people. How come in his constituency he won? So as you have said, it's not about a certain party fronting a candidate. It is your values as a candidate, because if I choose my brother today to go and vie, maybe people might not vote him because we are not equal. We are not the same. So maybe the choice of the candidate, you know, there is a candidate that is always loved by the people. In an election, and I want to say this in direct translation, when you go to a contest where there is a fight of monkeys, and you go to the monkeys itself with that fight, you cannot come and say that, oh, I've been beaten by the tail of a monkey, this and that. There was a political contest. A political contest, an election. An election was conducted by the Electoral Commission. I'm not hearing the NOP claiming that this election was conducted by any other person. And that's why in the law it says that an election must be free and fair. As to whether it is fair, that's why it does not say accurate. It says free and fair. And those are the precepts of democracy. So even in America.
So, Honorable Chairman, you sort of get this feeling, I suppose, of that in Uganda we are getting democratic reversals. Instead of moving forward, we seem to be regressing. Is that what you see?
My brother here is trying to impress the viewer that elections are normal. Go and check in those prisons. Many people are there because of elections. Something that we can jokingly feel as if it is a normal process. It's not normal. There are people who are in prison whose only crime was to support a candidate that government doesn't like. There are people who have had very serious injuries because of elections. Even yesterday, there are victims there who are nursing wounds because of elections. Come to this now. Do you ever ask yourself why every election the number of people who turn up to vote is reducing? Have you ever asked yourself?
There's voter fatigue as well.
Ugandans are now tired of results that come out of elections. First of all, they see that their will be fought against. The choices of their candidates will not come out as winners. Many see that even if they participated in these elections, nothing will change. That's why we see voter turn-up reducing every time. Even in Kalangala, the voter turn-up was too low. Ugandans will reach a time when Electoral Commission will organize their elections and people completely shun the whole process. Why? They are asking themselves, why do we go into such an exercise that will take our life? Why do we go into an exercise that will take us into prison? Because when you dissent, you'll be brutalized. The moment you dissent, you'll end up in jail. The moment you go and participate, your candidate will not be declared. It is happening in Uganda, and people each day. There's a time when I think this recent election, they said we are 21 million registered voters, but those that turned up were not even 10 million. What does that communicate? People are fed up. People are tired of seeing an election that takes life, and moreover, the candidates of their choices are not declared. Did you see what happened in Kayunga by-election when the Honorable Nakwede, now the woman member of parliament, during the election when they were filling the LC5 chairperson, everyone saw that candidate, the Honorable Nakwede, had won with all clear DRR forms. See what happened. Even these 2026 general elections, many candidates, someone fourth, someone who is being led with over 8,000 votes being declared, and these gentlemen are telling us to go to courts. Do you know what happens when you go to court, a court petition? What if a judge rules when it is almost 1 year to another general election? It has happened. You know, people are demoralized.
Major Paula, if you listen to Cheyune, actually, you feel as if there is a sense of frustration that the institutions of government are not working, including where they would go to seek redress. He's not very sure, even if they went to court, that court is going to give them justice. This is where we are.
Well, I was looking at that school of thought, and I thought at one time that we are mixing up issues. Mixing up the issue of whether or not the election in Kalangala was fair, together mixing it up with the justice procedures, including criminal justice.
No, because they say that if you think you're robbed, you have to go to court. But he's not very sure about the institution of court, whether it can give them justice. And that is very concerning, because in a democracy, it has a three tier. You have the legislature, you have the executive, and the judiciary. They have to check on each other. But if they feel that maybe the one branch is overbearing on the others, then they have a legitimate concern to say justice won't come their way.
You see, about justice and particular electoral matters, our colleagues from the opposition have been crying foul. But at the party secretariat, we have an inventory of our candidates who have electoral issues. Those who have won, who are being petitioned against, and those who lost, who are petitioning. Every electoral cycle, we have a long list. But we have watched a pattern. When our candidate, the court declares against our candidate, our friends say there's justice. And when theirs is declared against, they say, no, you see, no justice. So their cries are relative and circumstantial. We have heard them praying justice which has occurred, and we have heard them crying there's no justice. We have been victims. We had a long list. Many of our candidates were thrown out by courts. I don't remember, I don't have it on my fingertips. But we were always watching. How comes when the court declares against our candidate, they say there's justice? When the court declares against theirs, there's no justice. Justice, you have seen this frame of justice like a balancing scale. So it is that, and it is always on a balancing scale. Yes?
All right.
And then you have appellate provisions. So unless they're saying all the appellate provisions are not good enough for them, but I can assure you the justice procedures are in place, and they have been crying circumstantially. When they rule against our candidate, yes, the justice has occurred. When they rule against theirs, no justice.
Major Paula, Honorable Cheyune, and Honorable Champene. Gentlemen, we're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome, gentlemen, we're back on air. Welcome back to On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight, I have